Okay, so do you ever feel that little uh, pang of guilt when you prioritize your own needs
Mm-hmm.
and you worry, am I just being selfish here?
Yeah, that's a really common feeling.
Well, you sent us a whole stack of sources grappling with this exact confusion. The tricky line between self-care and selfishness.
Absolutely.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into the psychology behind it, using these texts to hopefully cut through the noise and give you some real clarity.
And it's so important we do because that common misconception, that self-care is inherently selfish, it holds so many people back.
Right. Especially if they tend to care for others a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It prevents them from tending to their own needs. And, well, understanding this distinction is just vital. It's crucial for avoiding burnout and actually for strengthening your connections, too.
Okay, let's unpack that then. What do the sources say self-care actually is?
Mm-hmm.
They seem to frame it less as a luxury and more like deliberate, intentional action
That's right. Intentional action.
aimed at maintaining or improving your physical, mental, emotional health. Basically, taking stock of your own needs.
Yes, exactly. Taking stock, it's about self-preservation, replenishment.
Replenishment, I like that.
And the intention piece you mentioned is paramount here. The texts really emphasize that. Self-care isn't just about feeling good right now, though that can be part of it.
Okay.
Its core purpose, really, is managing stress, preventing that burnout we talked about, and building your overall capacity. Your ability to function effectively.
Like the classic analogies, put your oxygen mask on first.
Precisely. Or you can't pour from an empty cup. By looking after yourself, the sources argue, you're actually better equipped.
Better equipped to handle life
Yes.
and support others.
Yes. Sustainably. So it's less about withdrawing and more about enabling yourself to keep engaging with the world.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then, how does that stack up against, well, selfishness?
The other side of the coin.
Yeah, the sources we looked at. They consistently define selfishness as focusing on your own needs, but with a key difference.
Mm-hmm. The impact on others.
Exactly. At the expense of, or in disregard for, others. It seems to be about pursuing your own gain without considering how it affects people around you.
Right. And that disregard for impact, that's the critical departure point. Some research suggests selfishness often comes from a lack of empathy.
A lack of empathy.
Yeah. And it shows up when your desires consistently just override the valid needs of others. It creates these very one-sided dynamics.
Which can damage relationships, presumably?
Definitely. The sources point out it can cause harm or negative consequences, eroding trust. It's interesting, too, one text noted that the label selfish is often something hurled at perceived self-seekers by their victims.
It's a powerful framing. Okay, so if we put these side by side, self-care and selfishness, the sources seem to agree the real difference boils down to maybe three things: intention, impact, and boundaries.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is how they all link together, isn't it?
How so?
Well, think about intention. Are you nurturing yourself to boost your capacity to relate well, to engage? That's self-care. Or are you just focused on personal gain, no matter the cost to others? That leans selfish.
Okay, intention first, then impact.
Right. Does your action ultimately enable you to show up better for others, for life's challenges? Self-care again. Or does it consistently disregard their needs, maybe even cause harm? That's where selfishness comes in.
And the third one, boundaries. This feels like where it gets really sticky for people.
Definitely.
The sources say setting limits, protecting your time and energy, that's crucial for self-care. Absolutely. But then the question is, when does a boundary become, well, selfish?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The texts suggest it crosses that line if your boundary consistently harms a relationship, especially when genuine needs are being communicated.
So it's not just having a boundary, it's how it impacts others.
And the consistency, yes. It's not about a rigid me-first rule all the time. The goal, according to these sources, is finding a kind of golden balance. Yeah. Protecting yourself without totally isolating others or ignoring their legitimate, important needs when they express them. So, like taking a night alone to recharge, that's classic self-care.
Okay.
But if your boundary means you always say bail on supporting a friend during a real crisis because you just don't feel like it when they've clearly expressed a genuine need, the sources suggest that's moving towards disregard. It takes self-awareness and communication, too.
Right. Communication is key. So this really takes us back to that big myth we started with. Self-care is selfish. And the sources, they give a pretty firm NO on that.
A very firm no. It's framed as essential to maintain your overall well-being.
And some research even indicates it can actually help you be more productive and better able to care for others.
Exactly. It's an act of self-respect, foundational health, not some, frivolous extra.
Okay, so let's sum this up for everyone listening.
Yeah, let's recap. Self-care essentially is about building your capacity, your reservoir, so you can engage fully with life, with relationships.
Right. While selfishness is more about prioritizing your immediate gain, often at a real cost to the people around you.
Precisely.
And understanding this difference, it really is key for your own mental health journey, for preventing that awful drain of burnout.
And for building genuinely stronger connections.
It feels less like this stark choice, me versus them.
Right.
And more about finding that sustainable sweet spot where taking care of yourself actually lets you show up as your best, most present self for everyone, including yourself.
Which leads to a really important question for you, the listener, especially given, all the societal pressures and stories we hear about self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
How might understanding this true difference between genuine self-care and selfishness actually prompt you to maybe challenge some of your own ingrained beliefs? Beliefs about prioritizing yourself.
Ooh, good question.
And maybe what's one small, genuine act of self-care you could commit to today? Knowing it's not selfish, but actually an investment in your own well-being and in your capacity for connection.